Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Mystic podcast, and I am your host Rahul N Singh. Thank you for joining today. So what do I need to tell you before we continue the video? Let's see. So first of all, like this video, write a comment and subscribe if you haven't. Share it with your friends and family. If you are not on my Discord server, join my Discord server. And yeah, I also do personal meetings as well, so if you want to do that, there's a link for that as well. All of this is in the video description or the show notes, depending on where you're listening to this. Now, so in India, there's a very popular YouTuber named BeerBiceps or Ranveer, the Ranveer show. A lot of people watch it. He interviews a lot of people from Sanatana Dharma, a lot of spiritual people, and he, kind of is somebody that is on this path of spirituality. I don't know if he calls himself enlightened or self-realized. I'm not sure, but he obviously is known to be someone who is in that space that is spiritual. So he was on a kind of a comedy roast show or podcast, and he said like a crude joke, and he's been getting a lot of hate for it. I think people aren't liking him because of it. Now, I don't really like his show, to be honest. I'm not really interested in the way he questions or I always find him to be quite shallow in his thinking, but nevertheless, he's doing something good in the sense of presenting different ideas and different strands of Hinduism. So I think that's to be celebrated. But the question is really, can the joke go too far? And can someone who is a host of a show like him not say jokes that are crass or crude? Like, for example, I was thinking, well, if I was playing Cards Against Humanity and I say something pretty ruthless, it doesn't mean that I represent that view. If somebody goes on a comedy roast show and they're meant to joke around, regardless how lowbrow it is, well, that's what's expected from the show. And it's interesting that people are saying, well, because he's representing Sanatana Dharma, he shouldn't do this, he shouldn't do that. But at the same time, why shouldn't he? He's not pretending to be a spiritual teacher, he's asking questions. He may have had spiritual experiences. That doesn't mean that his podcast is where he is the face of it, in the sense of he's telling other people that he should be worshipped. I don't think he's doing any of that. So to kind of and worse jokes have been said. That this is, it's interesting. So I remember when if you all remember that incident that happened in Delhi many years ago with that girl, I forgot the name, but she was when that gang did what they did to that girl, horribly, it was disgusting, abhorrent behaviour. And if you remember, Asaram Babu said, and he didn't get enough hate for this, not like what Ranveer is getting. And Ranveer didn't even do anything bad, but Asaram Babu was like, if that girl said to those people that, I'm your sister, you're my brothers, please don't do this, as if they would listen. That was just, for me, and that was serious. He was being serious, he wasn't joking. And yet, he didn't get enough slack for that. And at the same time, I'm thinking this joke where, he he shouldn't even have to apologize for such a joke. I mean, if people are getting affected by that, I don't know, there's bigger things to worry about. And India should be worried more about like kind of inflation increasing and costs increasing and stuff like that. And yet when we're getting angry about jokes that are said on a podcast that is again pretty crass and low brow, why do we take such things seriously? So yeah, I mean, my whole thing about relating it to Sanatana Dharma is like, well, I don't think it really, Ranveer is not the face of Sanatana Dharma, so it's not really a big deal, and we shouldn't make it a big deal. Like, it should be forgotten about. So yeah, worse things have been said and people have got away with it. And, half the things that are said on, say, social media is so ridiculous. And, this was not really that bad of a joke, in my opinion. I still, I have my views about BeerBiceps as a podcaster and the way he asks questions. But again, he's got a large audience. He's done some great work, and that should be really appreciated. And we shouldn't let one incident cloud the amount of good work that has been done too. This is an isolated incident. It's not like he's repetitively done such things where it's an actual behavioural issue. He was on a podcast that did dumb jokes, and he just said a dumb joke. I mean, what more was expected from that? But yeah, I mean, that was, I felt like whenever people try to attach it to religion and attach it to some like dogma and try to say, they harmed the religion. Is our religion so weak that one joke can harm it? Or that it represents our religion wrongly? I mean, he didn't even say the joke in terms of as a religious or spiritual person. He said it as himself. And I think we need to be very careful about how we kind of judge others and give them the verdict of what we think should happen to them. Yeah, so that was my view about the BeerBiceps thing. And again, I tried to look at this from the point of, non-duality and how would non-duality interpret such an incident. At the end of the day, you come back to silence. You come back to understanding that now one joke has made someone's life where he's had to apologize, and he's come on video doing so, where they will feel shame and they will feel guilt and they will feel upset. And I wonder whether that is necessary, and should we not have more compassion? If we understand the context that it's a joke, why are we isolating it from the situation that it was in? And also, instead of just attacking someone, putting an FIR on them, how about understanding them first? Get them to talk about the issue. So yeah, it's interesting, but I could only feel silence. I could only feel compassion for Ranveer, actually. And yeah, main thing was I just was really silent about it. I didn't normally, I have very like kind of direct views that that's bad. Like, the joke is bad. Like, it's a terrible joke. I mean, on a comedic level, it's ridiculous. But to take it seriously is actually, you become the bigger joke by doing so. So I don't think. So yeah, the people getting offended, they're the jokes, not the joke itself. The joke itself is not funny. But the fact that people are getting angry over a not funny joke is ridiculous. And it's not like that joke has any racism. It's not against someone's gender. It's not homophobic. It's none of those things. And so it just baffles me. And I think that's the problem, that we go with our emotions. We don't inquire first. We don't use our intellect to see, is it worth responding to? Is it worth getting so angry about that I have to then take this person to court or put a case on them? Like, is it worth that much? Is my heart even open to such people? The very people that are saying, oh, he's harmed religion, what good are you doing? Are you doing any good? And if you are doing good and you have realized the self, you've realized Brahman, you realize what your true nature is, from that, if I may use the words, space, how can you have even a fleeting moment of anger over such a dumb joke? The whole point of being intelligent is that you can see the joke and be like, that's just not funny. But when we get angry about it, why? Why do we get angry about it? Because this is the thing. If we show our anger, whether it's through social media or whichever way, it's about showing that we are, a warrior about something. We have something to fight for. But what are you actually fighting for? Is it bringing peace in your life? If you put a case on someone and you make them stressed out, do you think that will be good karma? Do you think that will actually bring you happiness and peace? Bringing other people down only increases one's pain and suffering. In fact, it veils one's pain and suffering so we don't even deal with it. So that's why, any hate and animosity should always be avoided. And we should tread the path where we look at the fact that we don't want to harm anybody. We don't want to cause any suffering to anybody. So if you really want to show Sanatana Dharma, if you really want to pretend to be a Sanatani, then check, are your actions aligned to how Sri Krishna would tell us to be? Do you think Sri Krishna would tell us to go and file an FIR case and make sure that person feels shame and guilt? Do you think he didn't even make Duryodhan feel that way. So what makes you think that Sri Krishna would approve of this? Do you think Shivji would approve of this? No, absolutely not. Do you think any great guru or sage would think like that? No. They would be like, move on. Move forward. It's not worth the time. Why should my intellect even entertain such nonsense? That's the way to think. Because before we check whether someone else is harming another person or people by some words, by a joke, we should check whether whatever we say is going to cause harm. Are we using our intelligence to check that? So yeah, that's my views on the BeerBiceps thing. I mean, I feel bad for him. I feel bad for Ranveer. I think, he's done some decent podcasts. He's had really great guests, to be honest. And, he's opened people to different ideas. I think he should be appreciated for that. One isolated incident, in my opinion, unless this becomes a reoccurring thing, but I feel like he was genuinely upset. He wanted forgiveness and he was seeking that forgiveness. And if we're still going to hold things against him, I think that would be kind of really sad. And I'd rather have someone that is talking about spirituality and being a positive voice than someone who doesn't talk about these things. He's not a Logan Paul, he's not a Jake Paul, he's not a Mr. Beast. He's a lot better than that, in my opinion. So I think we need to be more calm when people just say a joke on a podcast. Come on. Because we're going to end up being the joke, you know what I mean? So, yeah, anyway. Take care. This is the end of my episode, and let's see what I'll talk about tomorrow. But, stay safe, and I'll catch you tomorrow. And leave a comment, like this video. Make sure you do. Okay. Namaste.